didn't hear the recording in progress. Did it start yet? Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the April meeting of the Early Childhood Recommendations Panel. My name is Cornelia Stevens, and I'm Executive Director of Top Area Learning Center, and I have the privilege of serving as chair. To all of our panel members, good morning to you, and thank you all for serving Kansas children and families and the state's early childhood care and education professionals. This is a remote meeting. Today's meeting materials are posted on the panel meetings webpage and on the Children's Cabinet website at kschildrenscabinet.org. Panel members will clearly identify themselves when they begin speaking. You have the option of using the raise hand feature to show that you're ready to share, or just raise your hand. But if you use the feature, then Lindsay and I can kind of keep track of anybody that has their hands raised to give you opportunities to be able to speak. For today's agenda, we will be approving this month's agenda. We will approve the March meeting minutes. We do not have anybody today for the open forum, but I will go on ahead and talk through that process for anybody who's watching virtually who might have an interest in sharing information with the panel. We'll have an update on the All In for Kansas strategic plan, a career pathway update, CTE certificates update, work group reports, and then we have bright spots. And so panel members, start thinking about bright spots, anything happening within your organization, the community, or the state level that you think we would have an interest in knowing. It doesn't matter how big or small, we love to be able to hear about the great things happening in everybody's world. Talk about the upcoming meeting schedule, and then we will adjourn, and work groups will have the opportunity to meet following this meeting. So our first action item is to approve the April agenda. Panel members, please clearly identify yourself when you make and second a motion. So may I have an approval of the April agenda, motion to approve the April agenda as presented?
This is Maritas. I move to approve the April agenda as presented.
Perfect. May I have a second?
This is Karen McCrory. I second the motion.
Perfect. All those in favor, thumbs up. Very good. Any opposed, same sign. We've already had the March minutes that were sent out to us from Ms. Lindsay. If there are no revisions to the March minutes, may I have a motion to approve the March minutes as presented?
This is Natalie. I'll make a motion to approve the March minutes as presented.
May I have a second?
This is Kathy Gray. I second.
Perfect. All those in favor, thumbs up.
Nope.
Any opposed, same sign. Very good. So as I mentioned during the introduction, we do have a Kansas Open Forum, which gives an opportunity for people to come and share information with the panel. You have the option of either sharing written comment and or presenting in person, virtually, I guess, to the panel if you have information that you want to share, things that maybe you think we should consider, anything like that that you feel like would be important to help improve the lives of Kansas children and families. Anything that you would like to submit has to be submitted through a Kansas Open Forum comment form, which again is on the Kansas Children's Cabinet website. And it has to be presented by 5 p.m. the day preceding each meeting in order to be added to the agenda. So again, if you have anything that you would like to share, please go on ahead and submit the Open Forum comment form. We look forward to hearing from you. First on the agenda, we have Megan Kluth, who will be giving an update on the All In for Kansas strategic plan.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Megan Kluth. I'm a research project manager at the University of Kansas Center for Public Partnerships and Research. I just have a couple quick updates today. Most of the events that we wanted to make sure that you all were aware of, if you're able to attend or they're in your area, and if you can also help us promote with your networks, we would appreciate it. So KDHE and the Child Care Systems Improvement Team have been hosting childcare roundtables since last fall. So I believe we've done 4 now. We were in Wichita in March, and in May we will be in Garden City. We are also hoping in June to host in Southeast and Northwest Kansas. So we're still finalizing the dates and locations for those, and we'll get flyers out to this group as soon as we have them. So these events are open to the public. It's really a chance for childcare professionals, families utilizing childcare, or any just community member interested in childcare to come together and talk about what's going well, maybe where there are some opportunities for more support related to childcare in the region. So we've been very appreciative of everybody who's come out to the events thus far, and helping us understand not only what's going on with childcare at the state level, but like what are the differences in different parts of the state, because we know there are unique features throughout the state. So we are looking forward to wrapping up that series and covering all of the 6 regions of the state, and appreciate your help in spreading the word. Next slide. Okay, and then the other events that we wanted to make sure are on your radar are we are hosting what we're calling care and wellness conferences through our PDG grant. This is a first for Kansas through PDG, and these are completely open to the public. They are events that are going to be, it's like a 10 to 4 type time frame. The first one will be in Garden City on May 6th, and then the second will be later that week in Hayes on May 8th. And they are, again, completely open to the public. They're really designed as an opportunity for families with children birth to 5, as well as any type of early childhood service provider and any sort of specialist that's working with that population in the same region, to be able to come together and learn together, and also talk to each other and sit at the same table and kind of hear the experiences on both sides. Next slide, please. And I wanted to share a little bit more about, because this is new, we've had some questions about like kind of what to expect from this event. And so the focus this time will be more on early childhood mental health. So our partners at CAME, the Association for Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health, will be leading an opening panel that talks a little bit about like what does early childhood mental health mean, and then highlighting some of the experiences of families and professionals working in this space in Kansas. We will have a sense-making session. So for those of you who are not familiar, this is an opportunity to kind of literally make sense of different stories and experiences about how people in Kansas are, what like their experiences with mental health and well-being have been, and what that could look like moving forward. Lunch will be provided. We also have an opportunity for a resource fair. So if you have any contacts in either the Hayes Northwest region or Garden City, or excuse me, Southwest region, who might want to be interested in having just a free resource table, please share that opportunity. We're really trying to spread this to like anybody who might be connecting with families with young children, and the professionals who are supporting them, just to make sure we're sharing as much information and connections as possible. And then we'll have some afternoon panels and breakouts. One will be specifically about centering the family voice in early intervention. And then next slide, please. And then here's just like a high level overview of some of the breakouts. The morning will be very focused on early childhood mental health, and then the afternoon, like that'll continue to be a theme throughout the day, but the afternoon will have some more specific breakouts for families as well as professionals. Again, it's open to anyone who wants to come, and people can also like drop in as their schedule allows. So certainly don't need to go to the whole thing if they're not able to. We will have a breakout session from our partners, Mindful Minis, which is a mental health informed childcare center out of Wichita, sharing about their care approach. And they'll do a session specifically for professionals, and then a session for families about how to apply that approach in the home setting as well. We're going to have our partners at LEND, which is an acronym that I'm always struggle to do the whole thing, but a group that works with neurodevelopmental disabilities out of KU Med Center, and does a lot of training with childcare providers and other early childhood professionals around how to support various needs. And in this case, they're going to be talking about how to have really hard conversations about if there's any sort of developmental concern if you're a childcare provider or other early childhood professional, and how to have those conversations with families and vice versa. And then we'll also have a session specifically in Hayes, a little bit more about the special education service process and kind of what that looks like for families. So we're very, very excited to have these partners doing these breakouts, and also wanted to highlight, like, for any early childhood professional who's attending who needs KDHE in-service hours, those will be available. And then for families, we know attending during the day is difficult, and we will have stipends available for people with children birth to 5. So I will make sure that Lindsay has all the updated flyers and the registration page for all of that, and we can get more information out to anybody who needs it. But we really appreciate your help in promoting these. These are, like I said, these are first time events, so we're excited to see like what the response is. And also, if you hear from anybody or if you see anything on the language, like, we want to make sure this makes sense to people and this feels right. So we just appreciate feedback of all types as we kind of start this new event. And the plan is to do 2 of these per PDG year. So we are currently in year 1. And we will just move east as we go. So tentatively, the plan for 2026 is that we would be in the north and south central regions, but more to come. So if you're in these areas and want to come, we'd love to see you. If not, if you can share with anybody you know, particularly families, we really, really want to make sure that we are reaching families. And again, if that means people can come stop by for half an hour in the midst of the rest of their day, that's just fine. It's an opportunity for people to connect and get information, and just, find other people who are in the early childhood space in their area. All right. Are there any questions about either of those events? That's it for my update. So pretty quick today.
This is Maritas. Is there a flyer that we can share?
Yes, absolutely. I will make sure that Lindsay has those to share out with the notes and people. There's a registration link on that flyer. So absolutely. We've got flyers. We also have like social media posts that we can share out if anybody wants to do that.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
That's Maritas, by the way.
Thank you, Megan. This that actually is like a pretty amazing conference, and I'm looking forward to heading this way. That's going to be awesome. Next on the agenda, we have an update from Bronwyn Fees, who is going to give an update on the career pathway.
Good morning, and thank you, Cornelia. I appreciate the opportunity to share with this group the update on the implementation of the Career Pathway Initiative. And we'll go to the next slide here. Thank you. Just want to emphasize this work is supported with CCDF funding through the Kansas Department of Children and Families. And this is also very much a work in progress. We are relying heavily on the feedback that we receive from all of our partners in the workforce across the state. The focus initially here is on the direct care service workforce, but we'll be expanding to include the broader workforce as well. But our efforts at the moment have been focused on the direct care services. So as you might expect, this work requires a team of people to implement. That's what makes it successful. So I'm not presenting alone today. I brought the team with me. So next slide, please. So you're going to hear not just from me today, you're going to also hear from the people that you see on the screen that have joined me. And that's Patty Peschel, who is the director of our Kansas Childhood Training Opportunities, which we often shorten to say CACITO. So Patty is joining us, as well as Sharon Field and Stephanie Parks. All of us are members of this career pathway leadership team. So next slide, please. So I'm going to turn it over to Patty Peschel here for some comments on the next 3 slides.
Thanks, Bronwyn. Good morning, everyone. As Bronwyn said, my name is Patty Peschel, Executive Director for CACITO. Before I turn it over to the other members of our team, I just want to ground our conversation in the foundation of the work that we're presenting today. So in 2020, as many of you are aware, Executive Order, which established the Kansas Early Childhood Recommendations Panel to provide guidance on early childhood programs and services statewide, our purpose here today. So our work, wanted to point out how our work is directly informed by the responsibilities and purpose outlined in this order. Today, our team will speak specifically to 3 key responsibilities, as I've outlined here on this slide, as part of the panel's charge. The first one is item A, which is around needs assessment support. So we've supported and contributed to statewide needs assessments that identify workforce gaps, barriers, and opportunities. These assessments really has guided the work we're talking about today with the development of with the development of the career pathway. We've really used this data that has been gathered both within our internal team and then externally as well. The second one there highlighted is item E, which is speaks specifically to career pathway and advancement. The career pathway work we're sharing today aligns with the recommendations to develop a statewide professional development and career advancement plans. This ensures, that our clear, supported growth opportunities for our early childhood workforce to advance. And then the last one highlighted there is item F, which is the higher education partnerships. We know a critical part of career advancement includes collaboration with 2- and 4-year institutions, both public and private. So we're working to support articulation agreements and coordinated pathways that make advancement more accessible and streamlined. And we'll talk more about that as well. So next slide. Just wanted to provide focus here as well of how this work aligns with the All In for Kansas strategic plan. It is aligned with the statewide vision through the All In for Kansas strategic plan. Specifically today, we're focused on Pillar 2, Goal 3, which is support for early childhood professionals in reaching their professional development goals. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Bronwyn.
Thank you very much, Pat. Yeah, thank you for advancing the slides. So we've been at this work for a couple of years now. We started back in 2023. Time has gone quickly, actually. And we started with this initial goal. And I wanted to start our work here also, following Patty, with a reminder of what our goal is. The goal of this career pathway implementation is to create a robust career pathway for early childhood care and education professionals that is meaningful and consistently available and applied across all ECCE programs, including child care centers, licensed and group child care homes, preschools, Head Start, and school-age programs throughout Kansas. The career pathway will offer a high-level roadmap to advancing roles or expertise within the profession, tied to opportunities to earn increased compensation. I think it's also important to remember that the vision for this is a competency-based career pathway. So with that, next slide. So you may recognize hopefully this slide. This is the initial tool that was developed based on a tremendous amount of feedback from the workforce, agencies, and other partners. This is the tool that we have started in the implementation process. It is grounded from the 2019 All In for Kansas Kids Needs Assessment. It revealed some of the ways the Kansas early childhood care and education system is a bit disjointed, especially when it comes to navigating professional development opportunities. The career pathway is a foundational tool that takes the many different puzzle pieces of professional development system, and that includes the education, training, and technical assistance, and puts them together in a cohesive picture for early childhood care and education professionals to utilize to achieve their career goals. In 2022, the Career Pathway Group unveiled the Kansas Career Pathway for Early Childhood Care and Education Professionals tool that you see here. This is the original pathway and includes, as you can see across the top, level, then the title of the level, the education or credential, the professional learning hours, the experience, and then the professional supports. So hopefully this is not the first time that you've seen this tool, but if it's been a while, I think it's a good refresher of the elements that we're working in. Also want to highlight that Kansas is fairly unique across the whole country in that we are diligently and intentionally including experience, recognition of the depth and breadth of experience that our professionals have and bring to children and families in practice. Next slide. Thank you. So highlighting again, this is goal 3 from the Calling for Kansas Kids strategic plan to support early childhood professionals to help them reach their professional development goals. There's a lot happening, but today we are going to focus on 4 elements of the implementation to date. That includes the comprehensive survey, which we had an overview earlier in the year, last fall, and we'll take a quick look at that again. Working with higher education, building a system with career navigators, and also taking all of the feedback that we've heard from the workforce partners broadly in looking again at the career pathway and adapting, modifying it to fit the feedback that we have received. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stephanie Parks, who will talk a little bit about the comprehensive survey.
Thank you, Bronwyn. So as part of the implementation, as Bronwyn said, of the Kansas Career Pathway for Early Childhood Care and Education Workforce, our CP team, with support from the Office of Educational Innovation and Evaluation, better known as OEIE, from K-State, helped us conduct this comprehensive workforce study that Bronwyn was just speaking of. So the last time that our team presented to this recommendation panel, we were still in the throes of the study in the middle. And at that time I looked back, we had collected around 3,000 participants for the survey. Ultimately, the study represents the voices of nearly 6,000 early childhood care and education professionals from all 105 counties in Kansas. Members of the workforce shared their lived experiences by completing the survey, and also many of them participated in focus groups, 39 different focus groups across the state. When developing the study, we were particularly interested in learning from both professionals who make up the current workforce, as well as those who have left the field. And to that end, data was collected from both current and former professionals in the workforce. Since then, the Career Pathway team has presented numerous presentations, results of webinars on the findings from this very large data set. I wanted in particular today to highlight the Your Voice Counts webinar and research brief series. And that has been designed specifically for the workforce to disseminate information back to them about what they shared with us and make sure that they know that their voice does count. So the topics are designed for this webinar series, and research briefs are designed in kind of more of a bite-sized format. Topics thus far have included participant demographics, like who is our workforce, advancing your career, professional well-being, coaching, career navigation, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the next webinar and research brief will be on scholarships and financial opportunities, and that will happen on May 20th. So please check out our Your Voice Counts research briefs and an overview summary of the results of on our Casito website. And I will talk some more about the use of these of the study later on. Next slide, please.
Okay, so you're going to hear from all of our team members. We are moving back and forth, and again, appreciate this opportunity to collaborate with them. We can see and hear the complexity of the process and the due diligence by many of our team members to make to be responsive to what we are hearing. This particular slide represents the engagement of our higher ed institutions across the state of Kansas. Particularly excited to share that our higher ed entities, as you can see represented in this slide, are collaborating with one another, and the intent is to bring our technical 2- and 4-year faculty or faculty from the technical 2- and 4-year institutions together on a regular basis so that we are able to build relationships with one another, that we stay well informed about the progress or opportunities, potentially challenges that others are experiencing in their programs and to support, and then work towards transparent alignment between our programs so that we can facilitate a smooth transition between one institution to another and support the progress of any professional moving through the higher education system. We also are integrating the Kansas core competencies, which you'll hear more about again in our coursework to facilitate the alignment and the alignment of our courses between our institutions. Certainly is a work in progress, but I'm very excited to share this group has met quarterly, had a lot of conversation in between us, between those meetings as well, and building relationships and getting to know, again, more intimately one another's programs so that we are supportive of one another. And our second, and now I can say annual, because it is the second annual meeting of the higher ed faculty will be this May, May 20th, or here at Kansas State University. We're inviting all of the higher ed partners to come together to provide updates on programs and to do forward planning. So I want to assure that your higher ed institutions of higher education are working together closely to support the implementation of the pathway. Next slide, please.
As Bronwyn said, I wanted to focus a little bit on and highlight the Kansas core competencies. The career pathway itself, as we said a minute ago, is a competency-based framework and tool. And so therefore, the newly updated Kansas core competencies for early childhood have played a significant role in shaping the landscape of early childhood education across the state in ongoing professional learning contexts and including within higher education. And so I just want to highlight some of the ways in which the Kansas core competencies are being utilized within higher education. These revised competencies serve as the foundational framework for professional preparation programs, ensuring educators are equipped to meet the diverse needs of young children and their families. So one of the ways that they are being utilized is in the ongoing work of a committee, we're in the middle right now, of revising the Early Childhood Unified Initial Professional Standards for teacher licensure in Kansas, teacher education in Kansas. The Early Childhood License is a blended credential that prepares educators to support all young children, including those with and without disabilities. And depending on the program, it qualifies them to obtain a teaching license in birth to 3rd grade or birth through kindergarten, depending on the higher education program. In drafting these updated standards, our committee has drawn from National Professional Organization standards, like the NAEYC and the Division for Early Childhood of the Council for Exceptional Children, so DEC of CEC. So while we utilized national organizational standards, we've also integrated the newly revised Kansas core competencies, and the new core competencies have been deeply appreciated and valued by the committee members as we do this work. Additionally, both 2- and 4-year early childhood higher education programs across the state have worked, as Bronwyn said, to align or map their program, curricula, and course objectives to the revised competencies, and thus reinforcing the importance and ensuring consistency in educator preparation statewide. Next slide, please. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the mini grants and highlight those for just a second. So one of the primary outcomes of the Career Pathway Initiative is to engage institutions, organizations, and community partners to address the challenges of recruitment and retention of the early childhood workforce, and to build awareness and support for our workforce in general. In 2024, last year, we funded over 25 mini grants of up to $10,000 for higher education institutes, early childhood supporting agencies and partners, and community childcare and education programs. These mini grants were awarded for innovative strategies to promote recruitment, retention, and just in general, the promotion of career pathway and career advancement. So all projects were intentionally designed for replication by others. The mini grant, again, information about this impact report and other information is on our Casito website, and you can see links to the project descriptions, videos, all kinds of materials there. I wanted to highlight a few. Several community colleges were awarded grants, and some of their work, like Kathy's work, Kathy Gray at Butler, for example, was to support marketing campaigns using print, social media, digital ads, materials, outreach events, billboards, lots of things, to recruit students by showcasing career options in early childhood. Allen County Community College, Butler, Cowley, Flint Hills, Hutch. So many community colleges and tech schools were awarded these mini grants and used them to offer really interesting projects and innovative ideas for recruitment and retention. Another challenge that teacher preparation programs, higher ed, often faces is recruiting high quality fieldwork opportunities, securing those fieldwork opportunities. So for universities, K-State, KU, Wichita State, and Emporia State worked together and received grants. The intent of this project was to support the education of field mentors and university supervisors in infant, toddler, and preschool settings through provision of training on key aspects of field supervision, if you will. And they developed these fantastic training modules that support field mentors and university supervisors. And they are available, open access, they're online, and they're in an asynchronous format. And these modules are housed by Casito on an open access LMS that can be viewed and shared via a link. Some of the quotations from participants who were involved in these training modules, I wanted to share some of those quotes. This person says, there was a heavy emphasis on building and maintaining relationships between supervisor, student, and mentor. Another person said, I love that the training on practice-based coaching is included so that all supervisors are speaking the same language and using similar strategies across all students. And the videos of coaching and action is such a great teaching tool, this person said. Cowley Community Colleges, County Community College, like several other community agencies and programs, Head Start, lots of different agencies and supporting agencies, offered some in-person events. Cowley offered an event for approximately 50 rural early childhood professionals, offering opportunities for networking, marketing materials, speakers, facilities. Hutch Community College offered used the grant to fund travel and promote early childhood within local high schools, and specifically targeted CTE programs, bringing recruitment materials and discussing career opportunities in early childhood education. So really wonderful outcomes from those mini grants that I just wanted to highlight and share. Next slide, please.
Hi, I'm Sharon Field. I'm the program coordinator with Casito for Career Pathway, and I wanted to introduce our other support as the workforce moves through their career development. We had the opportunity to hire career navigators, and I wanted to introduce our career navigation team. They are really to support the Kansas early childcare workforce as they are navigating the system of professional development and career development. Casey Gormley she does the eastern half of the state. She has a background in education through leading some Head Start teams. She has also most recently been at Highland Community College, assisting high school students in their early childhood course work through Highland Community College. And Chelsea Kuzmic, she has a background in CDA navigation with Iowa AAYC and recently moved to Kansas. So we've had the opportunity to have her join our team. Next slide, please. So the career navigation team is really personalized support for individual growth for the workforce. They are to offer one-on-one coaching and mentoring opportunities and assist with IPDP development, individualized support while working towards the workforce career goals. And they do this through phone calls, virtual and on-site visits. So an example would be when a workforce participant is trying to obtain a scholarship and may not understand the IPDP process, which is the Individualized Professional Development Plan. And I'll get into more of that here in just a minute. They are able to offer time, assistance, and support in completing this process to obtain that scholarship. They also may help the workforce look for opportunities to self-reflect through the Kansas Core Competency Self-Assessment in order to find those opportunities for the workforce to grow themselves. They do career mapping as well. So they are in touch with our higher ed institutions to help map out the coursework that's needed for someone as they're going through their associate degree, a certificate or credential or bachelor's degree. And by having these connections, they can help find on-campus support for those who are at that institution. They're not to take the place of an advisor, but to really support the workforce as they're going through this process. They have connections to professional growth opportunities, such as the accreditation, either through NAFCC or NECPUF or centers, looking at CDAs and other credentials throughout the state of Kansas. They also are offering peer learning opportunities through monthly Career Navigator Lunch and Learn series. Each of these sessions are really focused for those who are participating to have an opportunity to explore a new aspect of career development. They started out with looking at the IPDP process and how critical it is to create your own career goals to keep moving forward in your career. This next lunch and learn that they're having, I believe, are on the different higher ed opportunities, whether it's 2-year, 4-year, or tech schools, and what do each of those look like. Throughout next year, we'll be highlighting different institutions to showcase their programming so that our participants in the workforce can really see what is available for them throughout the entire state, and whether online or in person or hybrid classes, whichever one may work best for that person. So I wanted to give you another example that most recently happened is that our career navigators were able to support a workforce participant who had recently left their position. And really, this was a person that had experience, drive, want to showcase their skills, to increase their skills. They were interested in continuing on to get her CDA, but was in a position of not being able to fulfill that in their climate that they were in. So Casey was able to come alongside this workforce participant and really just help navigate what those next steps would look like. She was able to talk through some of the challenges this person was having as far as resume writing, reaching out, where next do I go? And in the end, after several conversations throughout a couple of weeks, this person was able to really see that she wanted to go for her CDA and go in a more in a direction with another center, and was able to obtain employment and is happily pursuing that along with her CDA, which is a huge win for the children in her care and for those of us who are in the system. Next slide, please. So one of the tools that the career navigators use is the IPDP. It's really the base tool. It's an individualized professional development plan. This was created through a group working with the workforce development advisory groups. And we were able to come up with a tool that is a customized path to reach professional growth. Each person goes into the IPDP process in a self-assessment. So we use the Kansas Core Comps currently as a self-assessment for those who are going to complete an IPDP. We suggest that they take one domain where they would like to explore and one domain that they, feel very confident in, and they do the self-reflection of whether what those next steps are. What areas within that domain do they want to bolster? Where are they, feeling super strong in and may want to continue with that growth? So the tool really helps guide the process of that self-reflection and awareness of their strengths and interests. They work with the career navigators to create a goal statement and action planning. We're using SMART action steps to really perpetuate the growth of that goal. We've seen folks that want to get degrees, where do they turn to? They make these action steps of, okay, maybe it's just reaching out to the advisor at that college that they're exploring, or initially taking the step for the application of getting into that institution. And then we have those who are planning all the way down to what classes do I need to take in order to complete this goal of mine. We look at determining areas of focus that may benefit from additional focus and from the strengths-based approach. Next slide, please. One of the other tools that we use for career navigation is the Elevate Your Career course. This is a course that was initially part of our implementation process in 2024. We had over 900 people complete the Elevate Your Career course last year. And through that process, they explore the Kansas core competencies. It's another way to have the workforce come in contact, utilize, and really dig into the Kansas core competencies. They also explore the career pathway. And ultimately, at the end of the course, you're creating an IPDP for yourself. That is one of the completion steps for the course. And throughout this whole process, our career navigators can now give individualized support, whether virtually through Zoom or on the phone. And then they can also go out and do some on-site support with our workforce for creating that IPDP. So it's an initial step for our career navigators to be able to have contact with the workforce. Again, it helps develop an action plan for professional development and helps those who are taking the course really come up with a plan of where they would like to see themselves grow. It also offers opportunities of connections with professional resources and supports that one may not know exist within our early childhood system here in Kansas. So it's an opportunity for them to go on to Zoom as a group and be able to discuss and hear other people's goals and really start to percolate, the interest and the curiosity of what next for them. I had the privilege of teaching this course last year as we initially launched it. And we had so many workforce participants who were not aware that there were degrees that were online for them to be able to obtain credentials. We had many people who did not understand the steps for getting their CDA. But once they understood that and they were able to put it into a goal, we saw them take off, being able to start toward those steps. So it really is a foundational tool to be used for career navigation. It runs every month, and we have approximately 10 to 15 people currently going each month, with capacity up to 50 people a month at this point. So it really is encouraged. And if you would like to join the course, you can use the QR code for the registration. It takes you right to where all the course offerings are on the CAPE website.
Okay, we're going to now talk about the revision of the and the updating and the changes or the operationalizing of the career pathway tool itself. But before we jump into that, I wanted to focus on or reinforce that the comprehensive workforce study that I was talking about earlier is that data, the results really is what informed changes, updates, and how we are operationalizing the career pathway tool. And I just wanted to highlight kind of three sets of results here. So using the feedback and using the results from the workforce study. First of all, we found that 71% of our workforce has some kind of collegiate experience. And that also includes master's and doctoral degrees. And so therefore, if you remember on the original career pathway, the top level was stopped at a bachelor's degree. So the updated version goes beyond that and includes these additional levels of master's and doctoral degrees and acknowledges the further advancement in higher education. Next, 83% of our workforce are interested in continuing their degrees, their trainings, and their certifications. So therefore, in the revised career pathway, updated career pathway, professionals receive recognition and supports to advance their learning and professional goals. And the study results also indicated that our workforce wanted their experience to count and be acknowledged beyond just a few years of experience that was represented in the original career pathway. So this is some of the data from the workforce and from the study and from feedback that that has informed how we are operationalizing the career pathway tool. And I'm going to turn it over now, I think, to Bronwyn to kind of give an overview of that. Thank you.
So I recognize that we're getting close on our time, so we've got 3 more slides to share. And we'll wrap up here our presentation. So in summary, we want to emphasize that this is definitely a work in progress, the revision of the career pathway for early childhood professionals, that has been informed by the comprehensive workforce study that includes both quantitative and qualitative data from across the state of Kansas, as Stephanie mentioned, a significant response rate that really has helped us in our thinking. It's been further defined by the original career pathway elements. They remain as part of the revision, or this process of revision. It builds on experience and professional learning and formal education. It supports the early childhood care and education professional at all levels, which has been mentioned, to assess competencies and plan their professional development using the IPDP. Celebrates the individual paths for continued professional growth and development, has been aligned or is in the process of alignment with the CAPE portal, which presents the opportunity for that alignment, the operationalization, and unifies the entire early childhood care and education workforce and the statewide system. Next slide, please. So here you see, and I will emphasize, a work in progress. This is not the final draft. It truly is a draft. This is very much, as you've heard, an iterative process based on the feedback that we receive in multiple forms from multiple stakeholders. It retains the same elements as the original tool that we saw earlier in the slide presentation, and it's aligned with, or CAPE is aligning with, where the revisioning of the pathway itself, so it can be operationalized within that CAPE system. Importantly, maybe more importantly, we want to be sure that all of our professionals can see themselves on this pathway, that their experience is recognized, that their expertise is recognized, and it shows clearly a way to advance in their professional development. Multiple ways, I should say, not just one way. So next slide. So as I've noted, and as our team has shared as well, we are eager for more feedback. The feedback we have received to date has been phenomenal to help in this rethinking of how it should look, to make sure that we are inclusive of our workforce. So we have set up, I don't know, quite a few, I don't know, remember the exact number, but quite a few feedback sessions on the career pathway tool revisions. So this QR code represents the space where you can go and see the list of feedback sessions that are being offered. We want to hear your voice. Please take a snapshot of that, find a session, a time, a date that works for you. We will go into much more depth upon what we've heard, what it might look like in the revision of the pathway, to ensure that we have multiple voices. It's critical that you participate. So we encourage you to please take a picture, snapshot of that, and then find a time that works for you. And with that, I will conclude our presentation, and thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, Bronwyn and team. Does anybody have any questions regarding career pathway? Okay, well, I have one, and you may or may not have the answer, for this, but I will play it out there. Maybe somebody does. At our three centers, we definitely support our teachers in career educational advancement. We partner with Kathy in Butler Community College to give scholarships to our teachers to get their associate's degrees, their CDAs. We have people who are going through, the TAP program at Wichita State University to get their licenses. We, of course, are now finding ourselves in situations where we have, well-educated teachers who also want compensation for their education, right? So this year, we have 5 people who are currently in the TAP program, 2 of which will finish this year, but we have 3 others who will finish next year. And we have to find a way to make sure that we can pay these 5 people the equivalent of a licensed teacher salary, or we're going to lose our teachers and they're going to go to the school district. And so there's like the blessing and how do we support? We want to support their advancement, but has there been any discussion? And I know that we've had talks of compensation for quality and what does quality look like and how do we support all of that? But with level funding being something that happens on a continued basis and no increase in funding, has there been discussion on, I see when I look at the plan and the initial goal of this, it was so that people can advance in their career and have compensation that follows that. Has there been discussion on how, especially those community-based programs, support that higher education?
I would like to say yes. I know that last year there was a work group that focused specifically on compensation, and there was a study that was conducted at KU by KU for the on compensation. That certainly is an issue that's driving a lot of this work. Is articulating clearly expertise of the early care and education professional and the compensation that should accompany that. Mm-hmm. In our space, we have not directly addressed how that compensation will come about. So I'm going to have to defer to others here to conversations maybe that are not happening right directly in our career pathway, but might be happening around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think what I would add to that, Cornelia, is that, part of operationalizing this career pathway, and then of course having it, integrated within the eventually as we get it into the CAPE portal and system, it really provides voice. We have the data behind how many individuals we have that are meeting these requirements, these expectations, these various levels, and having the data behind who our individuals are, and we are collecting compensation data within the CAPE portal as well. And I think these are all building blocks in understanding, being able to say we have individuals that are here, at this level within the career pathway, and here's a compensation structure, or whether it's public or private dollars that then may look at supporting the compensation and have a frame of reference of, well, what is the compensation at? We need that data, right? So those are the pieces we're working towards in order to have that, so we can make, data informed decisions about what should the compensation be, where are we at, and be able to look at individuals and recognize their experience in education.
Well, thank you. And I figured that your focus is really on creating the pathway. I just want to be able to put that out there because we're looking at not even 12 months where we will end up potentially losing 3 of our teachers, and if we can't find a way. And so, so that's just, it feels like a sense of urgency right now of, what do we do in order to keep, well-qualified, amazing teachers who we have grown from assistant teachers to now getting licensed, and invested in their education, and we may lose them. And so, we can only put so much on our parents and increase tuition, right? And so how do we support that? Amy, you have a comment?
Yeah, I realize I'm cutting into my own time, but I'm just going to throw this out briefly. I'm just wondering, what does mentorship look like in the pathway? And what I'm asking is, I mean, I realize what a mentor is, but is there anything that makes it in any way an official relationship? Is there anything that says a mentor has to be a certain person or has to achieve something themselves? Is there a document that makes the relationship official that says, as of this date, I have started this relationship with this person, and so that at the end of 2 years or 1 year, I have completed, this much time with this mentor? Is there something about that along the career pathway?
Thank you, Amy, for that question. So this is something that we're starting to explore. Like, this is really the next step of how does mentoring show up into what we're doing. The coaching relationship, we do have, the coaching agreements with official coaching, but peer-to-peer, it really is something that we're starting to explore and start to develop within our system. Those are our next steps. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? If none, thank you again for sharing the information. I'm definitely excited to see how this continues to grow and flourish, as we do more to elevate the workforce. So thank you again for the work you're doing. We have Amy, who is going to talk about early childhood education certificates.
Hi, this is Amy Gottchammer. So the reason this came up in our discussions around workforce recruitment and retention is a little bit from a personal experience and a little bit from our conversations with Taylor Spangler when he was talking to us about CTE programming with the high schools across Kansas. And so one of the things that I brought up was that I have interns that have worked with me through our school district, and he was explaining to us the kinds of coursework that happens at the high school level, and I was explaining that the certificates that were brought to me were a little vague. And so we had discussions around this, and I brought it to Lindsay and I said, maybe should there be some sort of a universal certificate? Should our group be making a recommendation? And she said, this sounds like something that maybe we could bring to the larger group. So let's do that before we talk about any sort of a recommendation that might really doesn't necessarily need to be elevated to, up to the words, the next group. But anyway, in any case, so what happens is, the people above us. So, so what's happening is, when these certificates aren't necessarily universal and they don't show the same sorts of information, like the certificates I received as a community-based director, I don't necessarily know that this person that's coming to me received the same foundational information that's required by KDHE. I don't know what core competencies they've achieved or learned. And if I want to help them, which I do, move on to get a CDA, I don't know how to apply that. I don't know how to say, okay, you've got this many in the families category and this many hours in this category, and help guide them in their professional development towards getting the rest of the hours that they need. So can I get the next slide, please? So this is just an example of one of the certificates. So it said that it had 1.5 CEUs, and it does have a list of all of the content, which, as we understood from Taylor Spangler, is universal. This is what every high school does have to do. The teachers do have to teach the same content. But and so my understanding is that from the high school up into the junior colleges and the college level, they recognize that course and they understand that that content means something to them. But when that high school student goes out and becomes a provider in the workforce directly from high school, that doesn't necessarily tell a community-based provider that they have taken their 18 hours of foundations module at Casito, that they've gotten, whatever they, I don't know. I'm not a council, I'm not with the CDA council. I don't know. Does that tell somebody at the council what they need to know if they're trying to figure out how many hours they have in one area or another? What I don't want to have happen is that this person who potentially is a recruit, has been taking in high school these CTE courses for early childhood, is a recruit into the field. I don't want them to be slowed down or have any barriers to moving forward with their professional development. I don't want them to be slowed down if their path isn't to higher ed. If they, if that class they took in high school, maybe it does easily transfer to junior college and four-year college. I know there are, we can go to the next slide. I do understand that, there are articulation agreements in place with the higher ed institutions. I do know all that. And so it'll show up on their transcript and that's recognizable. But moving directly into the workforce, it isn't necessarily so clear. And so I'm just wondering if there isn't something better that can be done here, whether it's through the Department of Ed down to the high school teachers saying, hey, we need a template, something that just says, hey, when you teach these classes, they need to have a KDHE course number, or they need to have KDHE hours on them. They need to have core competencies listed. It needs to say how many hours of each of these areas this course, is comprised of. Does that, hopefully that's making sense. Do I have one more slide here? Yeah. So the question is, can we help streamline a person's progress into the ECU workforce from the high school CTE programs by creating some sort of a universal certificate or a template that contains the information that's recognizable to all parties, not just the higher ed that they may be moving from high school? So, the community-based program directors, maybe a licensing surveyor, maybe CDA council specialists. So that's where I am. That's kind of what we were thinking about in our discussions. So Patty, love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I was just, Amy, looking at, thinking about the CEU that were awarded. What was the accrediting body? Who issued the CEU?
The high school. The high school provided that certificate to the student, and that student brought it to me. And they have a transcript, or they will, they have transcripts. They didn't bring me their high school transcripts, but still, as a community provider, I can't look at a high school transcript and know what that class means.
Mm-hmm. 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 Is that a typical, are there other examples, I'm wondering if there's other high school pathway programs that are issuing where the high school is issuing CEUs to the student, and what is the process for issuing those CEUs? It's a question I would have.
Yes, for everybody. That's why we're here.
Yeah, thinking about if there's competencies that are directly tied then to those CEUs, if what they are using for competencies for those CEUs, I think that would be good to explore.
Yeah, Kathy.
Yes, that's a good question, Patty. And what I would say is that what we learned from Taylor was that there are a couple different courses that students can take at the high school level, and schools can put together which I said, conglomeration of a certain number of hours to meet that, whatever it is, 3 credit hours or get those CEUs. So I have seen that there are benchmarks that go along with each of those courses. So it might be like a half credit, a 1 credit, a half credit, and each of those have benchmarks that go into them. But aligning those with the Kansas core competencies would be something that would be very helpful to do, because then we could have that information.
Just want to add, Amy, I appreciate you bringing this up, and as part of our, excuse me, as part of our implementation, we have been talking with primarily family consumer science teachers, CTE teachers, about what the early childhood career pathway looks like for them and how they're working with their students, which you're also emphasizing, and that work continues, but you're also emphasizing just the great importance of us ensuring that the pathway is clear from high school and that high school experience all the way through. So greater articulation, greater understanding.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and it, there are certainly students, it doesn't mean they won't ever go to the 2-year or a 4-year, but they may take a gap year or something else, but they may still want to work in early childhood, and that's going to derail them a little bit if we don't know exactly what they've done. I mean, why would I want to make them take foundations over again if they've already had this content that could be clearly, demonstrated to me by a clear certificate in the first place? So I'm open, what does everybody think? Where should we go with this from here? What information do we need to gather, and who would affect this change? Yeah, Karen.
So I'm wondering if a connection between the high schools and CAPE is going to bridge that gap, right? CAPE is going to be where people track their KDHE hours, where they go to take those foundational courses.
Agreed. Yeah, because as a director, it would be great for me to be able to see if a student that I've had as an intern has something that's already KDHE approved and is already in their CAPE profile.
Exactly.
Agreed. Yeah, that would be wonderful if that all aligned. But first, we have to have something that's already KDHE approved. So does KSDE and KDHE get together and say, yes, this class, is there, an articulation agreement, for lack of a better word, between KDHE and KSDE, something like that for every course?
Not to throw anybody on the spot, but Natalie, in terms of KSDE, or Jarvis, in terms of licensing, is there something we can do that, because Amy, if I'm understanding you correctly, if we need to somehow have what they're doing recognized by somebody. The class is recognized by somebody. So who owns the task or the job of getting the classes that they're taking recognized so that they count for something? Because I'm kind of questioning also the 1.5, the CEUs. Are they real CEUs or are they fake CEUs? Are they CEUs that count for like made up CEUs, or like, do they really count for some of the CEUs? Like, I don't know. And does it count, for are they qualified classes that will count towards training hours, for example, with childcare licensing? Like that kind of stuff. And so who would go about making that connection to the classes? Is there somebody from KDHE or KSDE? And I know that KSDE doesn't necessarily do hours for licensing or whatever, but just trying to figure out like who owns that. Is there someone that says like, we can probably look into this and take that on, or is that a Casito thing, or even a career pathway, thing? Is there a way to connect it to that work to see whether or not there can be some research and how to make sure that the classes that they're taking actually count towards something they're trying to do to advance, if this is a field that they want to enter?
This is Natalie. I knew I was going to get called out on this one. I will
Sorry,
not
Natalie.
claim, no, that's fine. I will not claim to be the expert on the career pathways through KSDE, but I think connecting with Taylor, and I can definitely reach out to him, and this is definitely on his radar now, I'm sure, since Amy's been in her group, have been talking with him so much. But I think maybe seeing if we could find some kind of discussion or agreement between KSDE and KDHE on figuring those hours out and connecting those. I think connecting those to core comps is so smart, and would make things really usable. But I think that's something that we probably would need to connect KSDE and KDHE, and I can definitely talk to Taylor about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Natalie. You were just waiting for somebody to call your name. I know.
So
Okay.
and then I'm happy to kind of just continue talks with Natalie, and you can let me know what Taylor thinks, and maybe at some point he'll be ready to reach out to somebody at KDHE, and we'll figure out who that is. And unless somebody here knows who that might be. Well, I appreciate all your time. I know there's somebody else after me, so we can move forward, and I appreciate everybody's input, and thank you for your time.
Well, no, Amy, thank you for bringing this. It's something worth thinking about, right? As we're trying to grow our field, it's definitely important. So thank you for bringing this forward. And Natalie, thank you for being voluntold to, to kind of take the lead of, try to see what we can do to connect the dots. So thank you for that. Next, we have our work group reports. And so we will first hear from a spokesperson from Family Friendly Workplaces.
Good morning. That is me. So our work group has been hard at work working on a recommendation that we are going to present in June. Just getting down, we've done all of our research. We've worked with a couple of different states that have implemented a family-friendly workplaces designation. North Carolina and New Mexico being the two that we've had individual meetings with. And then also reviewed policies from other states as well. And so we are working on a recommendation that we can bring to you all in June.
Very good. Next, may I have a spokesperson from Exit Interviews?
Good morning, this is Stephanie Wiggins. We are kind of in the same boat. Short and sweet update for you today. We are still making progress over the last month, working together towards drafting that final recommendation that we will also be sharing with the panel, hopefully within the next couple of months. So today we're going to look at refining that draft that we're working on, as well as the exit interview questions that we've developed so far over the course of this last year. So overall, things moving along really well, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
No questions. May I have a spokesperson from the Mental Health Supports Group?
Good morning. This is Hillary Kane with Capata. I guess this is the trend for the day. We don't have a huge update either. We had some really good discussion, but had a small group after our meeting last time and have been working to kind of refine what we want to share as a recommendation about what we think would be most helpful in this area for mental health supports. So I'm excited for our discussion today, and hopefully we'll have some more pieces to share at our next meeting. Thanks.
Very good. May I hear from someone from the Targeted Journey Recruitment Group?
Yeah, this is Amy Gottchammer. So again, so yeah, we well, as you might recall, last month we were kind of a little unsure of where we were going next, and we decided that we wanted to look at not just disbanding because it felt like everything we looked at was already in somebody else's targets, and but that we thought maybe there was a role for us as sort of overseeing what everybody did and kind of looking for gaps and maybe ways that we could pull things together. So what our approach now is we are going to focus back on the All In for Kansas Kids website. We are taking a specific look at the workforce tab and looking at the professional development and the recruitment and retention tabs, and looking to see where corrections or gaps may be. And so over the last month, we've asked the group to take specific looks and kind of drill down into all of those tabs and areas, come up with ideas for spotlights that can be added there to try to kind of keep that fresh and new and a little more dynamic if possible. But mostly to see where we can add and fill in any gaps in those areas so that we can just kind of keep that information as up to date as possible. So that's what we're going to kind of focus on for the moment. We have a list of some changes and suggestions too that we want to offer to the powers that be that update that website. So, but we're going to keep working on that today at our meeting when we meet after the group.
Very good. I'm glad to see that you found a path, right? And so that's pretty amazing. That's good. And lastly, can we hear from Systems Progress Communications?
Hello, Kelly France Langford. We did some work last time. We have developed kind of an inventory looking at what are the current work groups in Kansas relating to early childhood and who are the contacts. So as communication either flows in or flows out, which groups can you reach to do that impact that work? We are working on sort of drafting questions, both to test our inventory and to see what the communication channels are. So our thought was we would reach out to each of these groups and ask some questions about their work, their stakeholders, and how they communicate with people outside of their group. And our questions would also be sort of a test run of our inventory. We talked about starting to, or maybe a lofty goal is to develop a systems cheat sheet. And it came to play in my mind just a few minutes ago when we were talking about, when Amy was talking about who are the players that make this decision. I don't know if we will accomplish this, but in a perfect world, we would have a systems communication sheet where she would be able to look at that and say, these are the players who make decisions about licensing and CEUs and things like that. Is kind of where our mind was going. So it was great to have that discussion today because I think we're headed in the right direction with that. So I think I was just reading through my notes. Oh, and then also recommendations for how cross communication occurs between all of our early childhood partners. So that's what we talked about at our last meeting. And I think we're making great strides as a group.
Very good. Well, it sounds like we have a couple of potential formal recommendations that will be coming in the next month or two. And so, again, that's not a requirement. We don't have to have recommendations for consideration. But if you have one, when you are ready to present that recommendation, the first thing that you'll need to do is send that recommendation to Lindsay and myself. And we will then send that on to Melissa Rooker, who will then review the recommendation. She'll go through kind of wordsmithing it, asking questions, making sure that any powers that need to be aware of this potential recommendation kind of also provide some insight or whatnot. So she'll take care of things, on that side, and then we can then move forward. She'll let us know when we can move forward with an actual formal recommendation. So once you have a recommendation that's ready, then please send that to Lindsay and myself. We will make sure that then Melissa, gives her input, and then we can go from there. But excited to see and hear what the recommendations are from the work groups, that have landed at that place. So very good. As a reminder, we do have applications open for the 25-26 panel. So if you are interested in applying to serve on the Early Child Recommendations panel, then applications will close on May the 2nd. So you do still have time to go and apply. Panel members are encouraged to reapply. You do have to reapply to serve on the panel. And please share the information with others. If you have others in your community that you think would be great voices to have, we would certainly love to have them on there. You can visit the Kansas Children's Cabinet Trust Fund website, for more information about joining the panel. Next, we have bright spots. And so does anybody have any bright spots that you would like to share of things happening within your organization, your community, and/or statewide news? Patty?
Yeah, I just wanted to provide a quick update with the CAPE portal. So as many of you are aware, the yourcape.org is the professional development portal for the state of Kansas for our early childhood professionals. And we are just a couple days over 3 months now of the initial soft launch. And there are, as of this morning, there are 5,200 plus portal profiles that have been created, and we have 103 of 105 counties represented. So very excited. And for those of you that are on this, and if you have not created your profile yet on the CAPE portal, I would invite you to do so.
Very good, thank you. Brenda.
Yes, I'm Brenda Bandy, Executive Director of the Kansas Breastfeeding Coalition, and I have two announcements. One is that our first Friday policy update series will be continuing throughout the summer. Our next one will be on May 2nd, and our speakers for that, you may recognize one of them. We'll have Josh McCabe from the Nyaskin Center. This is a national policy think tank to walk us through some of the national policies affecting the first 1,000 days from pregnancy to the child's second birthday. And we'll have Melissa Rooker joining us to give us a state policy update as well. And then those will continue through the summer. We shift in the summer to more of a roundtable approach where we take a panel and it takes a deep dive into a specific policy. The second thing I wanted to share is that the Kansas Breastfeeding Coalition has a very active child care section. And I know that many of you are on that, but if you are not and you're interested in the intersection of infant feeding and the child care, please join us for these bi-monthly meetings. Our chair is Chris Nicholson with Child Care Aware of Kansas, who's been supporting this work for many years. So we invite you to join, and I will put links to both the policy update and the child care section registration in the chat for Lindsay to include in the notes. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Bethany.
Hi, all. This is Bethany from Kansas Department for Children and Families, and I work with Links to Quality. This program is implemented by our lovely partners over at Child Care Aware of Kansas. And just to kind of piggyback on what Peggy was saying, the Links to Quality will be in phase 2 of the CAPE portal, which should be finalized within the next week or two. But we have done a slow rollout of Links to Quality, and I'm just very excited to tell you all that we have 170 programs who are working through Links to Quality and working on their links. And we actually have 5 programs that have completed their program administration link, and they are being awarded their link. And it is just very exciting that we are that place in the process. So just wanted to share.
Very good. Any other bright spots? Okay, if none. And Holly did send information as a reminder that April 21st through 25th is Home Visiting Week. And so National Home Visitation Week. And so there is a flyer that was sent through the chat as well. And Lindsay, if you can go ahead and send that out, that'd be great as well. As a reminder, you will receive a post-meeting survey. So look for that from Lindsay with an opportunity to provide feedback on today's meeting. Our next early childhood recommendations panel meeting will be on Friday, May the 16th at 9 o'clock. And the next Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund meeting will be on June 6th from 9 to noon. It is 10:26. We're going to we'll actually give about 15 minutes just to maybe give a little grace for the 4 minutes that we have to make it even. And at 10:45, we will come back for our breakout for our work groups. So the links will be available for you to join your work group again at 10:45. So you got an extra 4 minutes to get coffee or check emails or do anything that needs to happen. So you guys, I hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend. Look forward to seeing you all next month.